how dependent the U.S. economy is on China and China on the U.S. If in the future U.S. and China start to sanction each other, what does it mean for the U.S. if China is forced to withdraw from the U.S. market and vice versa?
Well, it's a great question and a difficult question because we have become so intertwined. I noted earlier that trade between the two countries is about $700 billion per year. I would say that there is, I would estimate, about $600 billion worth of U.S. and foreign direct investment in China, and probably $300 billion worth of Chinese foreign direct investment in the United States. And in addition to that, we have about $6 or $7 trillion of portfolio investment, that is buying of bonds or stock purchases and whatnot. So that's we are very significantly intertwined. And that could be unwound, that could be reduced, but we would pay the price of a lower standard of living. How much lower do we want our standard of living to be? I think would be the appropriate question to ask. And I think most Chinese people and most American people would say, what? We want an increased standard of living. And if we are going to do that, we're going to have to grow the trade pie, not reduce the trade pie. So at least in my view, both the Chinese and the American people are very pragmatic and straightforward. And indeed, both have benefited enormously from globalization, including bilateral trade. And so the politicians don't want to see a lower standard of living. The people don't want to see a lower standard of living. And therefore, we're not going to see a wholesale decoupling at all. Now, there are certain areas where we might see some disinvestment. And they would probably be focused in the high technology areas. For example, semiconductors, telecommunications, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and maybe one or two other areas. And I think that this will reduce our level of welfare, and it will reduce the globe's overall level of welfare. But I think that Adam Smith was right when he said in 1776 in The Wealth of Nations that defense is more important than trade. And therefore, in areas where there is a national defense or a national security implication, you're going to have some decoupling. I think that is inevitable. But what we want to try to do is keep that as narrow as possible, and not have everything as a matter of national security, but rather have a small garden protected by high walls that we call national security. Not everything. Let's keep this as narrow as possible. One very interesting area, for example, is biotechnology. Some would argue that biotechnology should fall in the definition of national security. I would disagree with that. I think that if we want to cure cancer, then American and Chinese scientists could do that together. And I think that that's a noble goal. So to the extent that it is possible, science should remain open, competitive, global, free, where the best ideas around the world win. At the same time, technology, very different from science, technology is private. It's owned by companies and protected by intellectual property rights. There, I think both sides could probably do a better job at protecting the intellectual property rights of the other to allow a more healthy global innovation ecosystem in time.